people died in South Africa, according to statistics. People have been losing jobs. There have been breakups. There were cancer diagnoses. There were diabetes spikes, diabetic spikes. And you know what? All these things were related to COVID. All of a sudden, there were no other illnesses except COVID-19. So I don't know about you, for so many people navigating grief from personal losses amid the drama of the pandemic has left us totally devastating. So I don't know about you this morning. This leaves us in the wake of an actually thinking of what happened. How do people really navigate through the pain and the grief that they feel? Because people I spoke to, some of them said it felt like the person that was always there for me, like a parent, because today we're actually discussing, so my life after COVID snatched my parent. So some people said that, my parent was the one that actually brought me into this world, especially like a mother, right? And saw to me, worked for me, and did everything for me from birth. And with COVID, all of a sudden, when she passed on, it seemed like we just threw her away or threw him away. And that is the devastation and the grief that we didn't find closure as yet. So, not to waste your time, I have a beautiful lineup here, and I'm excited for them to introduce themselves. So first and foremost, I'm going to give over to our very own psychologist. She's going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kim McKay, clinical psychologist. I'm very happy to be joining you guys again to discuss this really important topic. I think all of us will experience it at some point in our lives if we haven't already. So I think it's a very pertinent topic that we have to discuss today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And now we're going to go over to, my signature, right, guys? What is my signature? Come on now. And if you have any questions for this people on the panel here today, or to the psychologist, or to our counselor, please do it. Put it right up. We will try and answer your questions, right? So don't despair. If you didn't subscribe, hit that subscribe button and also that little bell so that you can get some notifications, right? I'm sure you want notifications because you want to know what's going on the Inside Show. So come on, guys, you go ahead and just do that. So today, my signature is the mirror. So to break the ice, seeing that we are digging into such a emotional topic, though, I want to break the ice with the mirror. So I'm going to ask everybody in studio to look into that mirror. And they're going to introduce themselves and tell me, when you look to the person looking back at you, how's that person feeling right now, this morning? So I'm going to start off with Pastor Neil.
Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good to be on the show again. Thank you, Joan, for the invitation to be here. I'm Neil Hudsenberg. I'm the family counselor at Crystal Church. I've also got a segment called Ask Neil. So if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. Put it on the timeline. We'll get to your questions and answer them as best we possibly can. So when I look into the mirror this morning, I see somebody that's happily reconciled to life. I think that every day has got its own challenges, and I think the person looking back at me is ready to take on any challenge today, and most importantly, to make a difference in somebody's life. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joshua Boyson. I study BCom Law. I'm in my third year. And when I look in the mirror, I firstly see someone that's very handsome.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey, hey,
come on,
hey, hey,
come
hey,
on.
hey.
Say that. And secondly, I see someone that's very excited to share his side of things. And
Yes.
yeah, that's pretty much me for now.
Right.
Good morning, Neil, Joan, the viewers, and everyone in studio. I'm Clorinda Kurt. I'm here to share my story and basically to encourage everybody for those who've lost a loved one during COVID. I'm feeling actually very positive today because I know our story and what we're going to share is going to inspire everyone at home. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners. Neil, Joan, all the other listeners,
Kim,
and everyone else in studio. I'm Germaine, and when I see myself, I have a nice fresh haircut
Hey.
from Legend.
Yeah, legends.
Hey, you. I'm here to inspire, share our story, what we experienced. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, yes, beloveds, we're going to kick off. And who knows, you know what? Grief is not just sadness. It can involve a whole range of reactions and may affect every part of your life. Emotions, your thoughts, your physical well-being. It can also affect your behavior, right? Your beliefs and your relationships. And you know, sometimes with beliefs, you think that, you know what, we prayed, we fasted, we did everything possible, but yet we lost our parent, right? So all these effects can make the experience of grief seem overwhelming at times. So someone said, and this is what someone said to me. She sent me this and she said, you know what? Today this is how I feel. She says grief is like living two lives. She says one is where you pretend everything is all right, and the other is where your heart silently screams in pain. So who knows? Losing someone you love hurts a lot. So I'm going to start off by asking some questions, and we're going to have our psychologist also who will just jump in and just help us through this journey of grief. So, how was your relationship with your mom, Germaine, if I may ask you?
Okay. Joan, my relationship with my mom was an awesome relationship. It was one of a kind, a relationship between a mom and a son. We used to check in with each other every day. There's not a day that goes by that I wouldn't see my mom, or previous times we worked together, we traveled together, we on the phone 24/7. I wouldn't go a day, as I said, without speaking to my mom and seeing her for that matter. Sundays we'd had lunch together, every Sunday basically, and my mother was a big part of my life, and so it was a relationship that many even as I say, there's people that come that say they admired our relationship because I'd always want my mom around, and
Right. Yeah, so it's really a loss, right?
Yeah.
So going over here to my right-hand side with Josh. Josh, how was your relationship with your mom?
Being the youngest, I can say that it was similarly, it was an amazing relationship where I'm an only child, so I was very much a mama's boy.
Yo.
So she used to always be, in a sense, overprotective, but it was in a caring way, man.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was always something I'd be proud to say that as sad as the loss is, and as sad as the time frame of it all was,
Yeah.
I'm still grateful that in the short space I could still be given everything that I have in regards to morals, values.
Yes.
So I'm just grateful to at least have had it in my life, because as he said that it was a relationship that very few would have.
Yes.
Also, when I'm looking into my friend groups and all those type of things, so that's why I'm very grateful for it. Yeah.
Awesome. And Clorinda?
My relationship with my mom was not only a motherly daughter kind of relationship, it was a best friend relationship. With my mom, I could speak to her about anything from, the time I could speak till the time she passed. I could share anything with my mom. And it's actually so, not weird, but I would have friends, but would see my mother as my friend. We would share everything together, do everything together. And as Germaine rightfully said, the relationship was close-knit, you know. We would, after work, I would drive home, but I would stop over at my mom's house. So we would see her every day, communicate with her every day. If by chance I'm busy at work and I wouldn't speak to her, she would call or send a message and ask, what's going on? Why didn't you call me? Or, it was that close-knit relationship.
Awesome. Wonderful. So all three of you had a very close-knit relationship with your mum. And I can just imagine the hurts and the pain and that you are experiencing. And I wonder if we move a little bit over, if you can tell me a little jolly about your mum, tell me a little bit more about the personality she had. Who was she really? Right? So anybody of you, I'm not gonna.
My mom knew everyone. If I could say that. We would go to Spa and we would spend hours, even if we just went for bread, we would spend hours at Spa because my mother knew everyone. She would have long conversations. My mother was the type of person that always had a smile on her face, and that's a very fond memory. She, no matter what she was going through, she had a smile on her face. I would never or have never seen my mother, sitting in a room with the door closed and crying about something. She always had a smile on her face. My mother was a very, if I can say, or let me say, my mother was OCD. My mother loved cleaning. That was her passion, to clean. And she believed cleanliness was next to godliness.
Yeah.
So that was who my mom is. She was very humble, hard-working person, and just loved people.
Right.
That's who she was.
Awesome. So what was the fondest memories, Germaine, of your mum?
Fondest memories, I have so much fond memories from going on holiday, traveling with my mom to work. Her jokes, she would tell you a joke, but she would laugh the loudest to her own joke. And also, she was a very caring and loving person. She loved art. She loved without any terms and conditions, and she would love people and genuinely care about people's well-being. Something that she would that stood out is that she would, everyone, it doesn't matter from what walk, wherever you come from, what walk of life you come, who you are, she would treat everyone the same. No one is that high that she would just walk up to you and speak to you. So that's something I took from her.
Yeah, awesome. So tell me a little bit about your mother, Josh.
I think similarly to everyone, she had that motherly character to her, where she very caring, very loving, And one thing that's been in my mind recently about her was the fact that she was a very strong and passionate prayer warrior.
Oh,
And that's something it's been keeping me now, because I just think of the times where she'd wake up almost whenever she could, because very hectic job and all that. But whenever she had the opportunity, she'd wake up in the morning like 6-ish.
She was a nurse, eh?
Yeah, she was in the medical field.
Okay.
Around COVID and HIV and all those type of things. So yeah, whenever she had the opportunity, she'd wake up in the morning. There was prayer, there was fasting, there was a lot of singing songs. So that was the type of woman she was, where she was very passionate about her faith as much as she was passionate about people. So yeah, that was my mother.
Yeah, so how does it make you feel? Because all three of you, your mums were in Christ, they served the Lord. How does it make you feel, that irrespective of being in the faith and being a prayer warrior, yet COVID came and made its rounds. How does it make you feel?
For me, it was extremely difficult, knowing that I've grown up in a spiritual family and a family of pastors and stuff. It was very difficult because throughout my life, my mom taught me to have faith, and I had faith, but when she passed over, I had so many questions as to why.
Yeah.
But I must say, my aunt passed away from cancer.
Yeah.
And with her, there was time.
Yes,
Everybody
true.
prayed, everybody, did everything they could. But at the end with my mom, everything happened so quick that
Yes.
only afterwards it hits you and you ask the questions, why? We had so much faith, we prayed for her, we did everything, according to your way and your will. So you've got those questions, but at the end, God answers that.
Yes,
I
true.
believe that. So that's basically how I...
So, Kim, for you to come in here, how do a person deal with the anger that you experience, especially with COVID-19, men? Somehow, somewhere, you feel a little bit angry, you feel that, in the first place, this was me, right? With my brother and my sister's passing. Afterwards, I asked the question, who the hell brought COVID to the face of this earth? You know what I'm saying? And caused such a lot of pain and such a lot of unanswered questions. So it makes you angry, It makes you a little bit feel like, So how do you deal with that anger?
I think to start off, before I answer that question, we need to understand that we shouldn't problematize grief.
Right.
Grief is a normal reaction.
Right.
It should happen. And with grief comes all these hosts of emotions. So anger, frustration, rage even, everything that we would term negative emotions comes with the process of grief. So to not problematize that emotion. You're angry, be angry. You have every right to be angry. You had a loved one that was taken so suddenly with no preparation, and your brain is just trying to come to some kind of answers and conclusions and trying to make sense of what has happened. And of course, with trying to make sense of with what has happened comes these emotions. And so we shouldn't shy away from feeling them.
Yes.
Because that's where the problems start. When you shy away from feeling them, or when you try to pack it away and, sweep it under the carpet, it'll resurface at the most inopportune times, and often worse, and often more intense and worse. So it's really important to feel those emotions and process through it. Scream if you want to scream. Walk it off. Do what you need to do to deal with that emotion. Obviously, doing as little harm as possible.
I think that's very important because you know what? I know some families where the mother passed on, and maybe there's a father left, and he's a macho man. And, they say men don't cry, right? So because of that, the children are actually left with that, where he actually tells the children, no, we're not going to be sad. No crying, no crying. You know what I'm saying? But it is vitally important, as you say, not to sweep it under the carpet, right? And to deal with the emotions as it comes. Because, you know what, I think, especially in the Christian circles, you know, that facade that you put on, that mask that you wear, you come to church, you feel emotional, man, you know, because my emotional day when I miss my sister is on a Saturday. I don't know what's happening to me on a Saturday. On a Saturday, I feel like, due to the fact that we met on a Saturday, we went to the mall, or Friday afternoons, you know, I will go fetch my two sisters and we will go out. But somehow lately, since her passing, I cannot handle a Saturday. Did she pass on a Saturday?
It was a Friday.
Friday.
Yes.
So sometimes you feel like, no, come on, you're a pastor.
Actually, sorry, Pastor Joan, it was
Saturday.
Saturday morning.
Yeah.
You're right.
Saturday morning.
It was a Saturday morning, yes.
I was asking myself, Joan, was it the Friday or was it the Saturday?
Saturday
Because
morning.
Saturdays to me is like a, you know. So then I say to myself, come on. Just ruk yourself reg. You know what I'm saying? But I learn now, you have to deal with that emotion. If you want to cry, you can cry.
That's the thing. We've been raised in these in where there's certain cultural practices that take place, or the way we understand grief, that you're not allowed to. When you're out in public with people, you need to pull yourself together, and you need to present yourself in the best way possible to make everybody else feel comfortable. The one thing that I want to say is you're not responsible for anybody else's emotions. Grief is for the griever, and whatever is going to work for you is what you should do. So if on a Saturday you don't feel like being pleasant, you do not have to pull yourself towards yourself and be what other people need you to be. It's a very individual process, and whatever's going to work for you during that time is what you need to do. It's all about being kind to yourself during this process. It's the only way that you're going to be able to tend to the grief, because that's exactly what we do. We don't get over grief. We don't get over the loss of somebody. You tend to it, you nurture it, you work through it.
You learn to used to the idea that they're no longer. Right. So Pastor Neil, you wanted to come in here?
No, I think Kim answered that. I
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to talk on that thing. But it's
Oh,
important
okay.
to know that you are your own person and you're responsible for your
Oh,
feelings.
okay.
And the biggest thing is that I found that people said that, you know, when they do that, they feel selfish because it looks like it revolves around them. But it's the right thing to do. It's about you now, you grieving.
Yeah.
And so just express those emotions. Whatever you want to do, get out there. Whatever you need to do on that day is just to be yourself. Because if you're going to deny that, you're going to deny your true feelings, and it's going to be a continual a flow of emotions continually. But this helps you really deal with yourself.
Yes.
And it's about you grieving, and you grieve as long, as hard as you possibly can, or until you're ready to get past that phase.
Right. So, Josh, tell me, where were you when you received the news that your mom passed on?
I was at home. So what happened was she got into hospital around the 11th of December, and then by the time when it happened, I was unaware of what happened. It was evening time. They called in my father to go and assist because she wasn't feeling well. And when he got there, they relayed the news to him that she was no more. And then I wasn't told yet until, because the family started coming through and I wasn't really sure what was happening. So I was really oblivious to the situation.
Wow.
And then by the time he came home, and it was like everyone was coming, like all the family was coming, all the uncles, and it's like, what's happening? And then he came and he relayed the information, and then it was a real shock. But yeah, that was when I found out, yeah.
So how did you feel not seeing her? How long was she in hospital?
It was about possibly a week and a half, or a bit more, if I'm not, nearly 2 weeks. She was in the hospital, yes. So in that time, it was a lot of fasting and prayer and, trying to keep the faith on. And it was a bit challenging because, I mean, in a family of 3, it's just myself, my father, my mother in the house.
Right.
So with her not being there, you can feel the presence is not there. I mean, the presence of a mother is very strong in that type of household. So, yeah, it was still a new thing at that time, because now you're waking up, you're dealing with what you're dealing with, you're still trying to be strong, you're going about your daily life, and then it was quiet at first. If I
Yeah,
might
I
say,
can
it was
imagine,
really
eh?
quiet at first.
Josh, did you manage to speak to your mom while she was in hospital for the 2 weeks?
Very little, eh? The contact wasn't that much. It wasn't allowed that much because she had respiratory issues.
yeah.
So she
because
couldn't
of that,
speak. She
yes,
couldn't
yes.
speak so well.
So to the later stages, it wasn't really looking well.
Okay.
So it was only like WhatsApp or the odd phone call here and there.
Okay.
So that was the amount of contact that I had.
Okay.
That's hard,
Good,
eh?
man.
Because you can't speak to her. She's in hospital. That is really a slap. Because how do you bring closure to that? YOLO. Germaine, where were you?
I was at home. My sister made a decision to bring my mom out of hospital, which I think that was the best decision.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was at home, so she was taking care of my mom, obviously. And the time she gave me a call, that was about early hours of the morning. She said I should come up quickly. My mom is not okay. I stayed like 5 minutes down the road. But the time I got there, my mom was already gone.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Sure.
So it was very fast, very, sudden.
Yo. So Clorinda, you were with your mom when she passed on.
Yes, I was, Joan. I was at home, as Germaine said. My mom we asked for her to be discharged the Friday.
Yeah.
And I took the decision to look after with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And at that time, you do everything. We did everything to make her comfortable. And never did we ever, when she was discharged from hospital, we made her call all her brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And you feel positive at that time. My mom passed away, if I can say, past something to 5 the morning. That's when I called Germaine and the family. She died in my arms. It was very difficult. Some say you were fortunate. For me, death has no luck or privilege. Death is death for me. And yes, maybe I was fortunate that she died in my arms, because before she passed on, she was struggling to breathe and complaining and saying that she feels like she's going to faint or pass out. That left a major scar or damage at the time, because, and maybe Kim can come in here, at that time you're thinking, what can I do? Afterwards, after she passed on, I had so much guilt, because it's, what could I have done to save her, differently. Yeah. I did get an answer by attending a first aid kit, and they said to me, I asked the question, and they said to me, there was nothing that you could do. So I was left with a lot of guilt at the time, and that's where I was.
So how do you deal with that guilt?
It's the same way that I was explaining earlier. Guilt, anger, all these emotions are normal when it comes to death. Because remember, we're trying to make sense of what's happened, and you think, surely there must have been something I could have done. We think as though we almost like the heroes, and we need to come in and save the day. Yes. But in reality, like the answer that she got, there's nothing that she could have possibly have done just to save her mom. But the brain goes into a process of trying to solve this issue of death, and there is no solving. There is no solving death. There is no way that we can avoid it. It's something that is inevitable and is going to happen. So those feelings of guilt, those feelings of anger, sadness are all normal emotions associated with grief. So the fact that you were feeling them and experiencing them is not a problem. It's not wrong. It's something that you would and people usually go through whilst going through the process of grieving.
Yes, okay.
So Kim, with all that, with COVID-19 deaths, it's not a normal situation, right? So because you can't see your loved one, you can't go to the hospital. No hospital visitations are allowed. You don't really know how to bring that closure. What did she eat? I couldn't hold her hand. You know, people want, so it's a different situation altogether. Am I right? So with all this, you couldn't monitor the process, and sometimes you feel like, man, why do you put them on a ventilator if you know the ventilator is not working? You get what I'm saying? So you are bombarded with all the info that comes in. Yeah, they killing the people in hospitals and stuff like that. And now you think, yo, what happened to my mother while she was there? Who was with her? What was her last words? So all those things comes through your mind. So even with the funeral, coffins couldn't come into the church, right? And we have a culture where we go to the mortuary and we wash the body and we dress them. In these situations, you couldn't do any of that, right? The people, the loved ones, Clorinda was saying that a mother knew so many people, right? So those people couldn't come to the funeral. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, what will you say? What will your advice be if someone say that, you know what, I can't handle this because one person actually said it feels like I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to live anymore because this was taken away from me. And in the way that it was done, and in the way that I couldn't even bring closure, in the way that they couldn't open the coffin in the church just for me to say my last goodbyes. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. What will your advice be for someone like that?
So I think the first and foremost, we need to acknowledge that the process of grieving and our cultural practices in terms of laying someone to rest has completely changed. Yeah. And those things are important because it was the beginning and the process of how you come to acceptance and realizing that this person is no longer there. Like you said, the practices of washing the body, having the coffin in the home, people coming in, paying their last respects, even the week before the funeral, people coming to visit and offering support. That stuff is no longer there. So you kind of been thrown in the deep end, and you are trying to stay afloat, trying to navigate this new way in which we have to now mourn and grieve. But to start off, you have to acknowledge this sucks. This
Absolutely
is not how we are used to doing things. And it's completely out of our control and there's nothing we can do about it. But it starts off with acknowledging that, yes, this is terrible. You were robbed of an opportunity to have closure. You were, things were taken away from you. Yes, we cannot grieve in the way that we are used to grieving anymore. And just to come to acknowledge that you are not crazy for having these feelings, that it's okay to feel as though this is completely unfair, because it is unfair. COVID has come in and robbed everybody of an opportunity to be able to grieve the way we have been grieving for many years, and which has worked. There've been methods that has worked and helped people through. So first and foremost, I would say we need to acknowledge that what you're going through is not okay, and it's horrible, it's horrendous, it's tormenting even. And so feeling as though you don't want to live anymore, we can empathize with that and we can understand that. And don't try and make the person feel any different. There's nothing that you can say that's going to change the way that person feels. There's nothing that anybody can say to make your loved one come back. And so trying to offer words of support or encouragement in that time when somebody is so broken, is not going to be useful. All that you can do is acknowledge exactly how they're feeling in the present moment.
So you can just
leave them to just vent and do what they feel like.
And agree and support them, because that's not the time to be strong. It's not the time to try and make everybody.
But how do you support? How do you support? You can't even hug.
Yes, you can't. Be there. Be present. Stay.
Kim?
I can't hear. Something went wrong. Okay, so we just lost Kim there for a while, so she'll come back. So tell me now, guys, with all that said, right? How are you coping, and how's your family doing? How's the family doing?
If I can start, two things that has been pivotal in where I am today. The first being that because of the nature of the work that my mother did, which was in the medical field, so she dealt with COVID, sort of on the front lines. So throughout the year and throughout the journey with the pandemic, she always had a warning to me, in the sense of she always used to make me aware of the possibility and the probability that it could happen. She knew in herself she had the respiratory things, so she'd always sit me down. Now and then it was, and me being ignorant at the time, it only really came to my mind after the passing.
Yeah, that happens.
But she always used to tell me now and then that, my boy, if this happens, just know that I love you, that this is how I feel, that I've taught you everything I need to teach you. Obviously, whatever happens, happens. And she always used to do that throughout the year.
Wow.
And then second of all, I have to say that it was the way in which I knew that she loved me. So those are the two things that were pivotal to me, because that's what brought me to where I am now. Yes, it still hurts. And yes, I allowed myself to still feel what I feel, because I would also not put a time on it. I'm really not telling myself that by this time I need to be okay.
You can't.
Yes, I need to this, that.
Yes.
So in all of that, it's made me have so much progress that I can stand where I am or sit where I am and be grateful for the little things. Because I could have been in a worse state, yes, this, that. But I'm still thankful because of what she did, how she did it, how she approached it, and most importantly, God, because I have to say that a lot of what I've been doing is because of prayer, because of the faith that I keep, and that's I'm really just grateful for that, because it really could have been different, because I know myself, I'm a very sensitive person, because my mother was really a pillar in my life, because she was, every time I had issues, she was always the mom, But yeah, that's why I'm so grateful.
She was the run-to person.
Yes. So that's why I'm so grateful for those facts in my life, because it allowed me to grow, especially when I didn't expect to grow. And yeah, that's what's been amazing for me.
Wow,
So,
I'm very encouraged with your story, the way she
Prepared
actually prepared
you.
Yes, that was, and I didn't really think of it until it actually happened. I think we are also, to an extent, we are also ignorant of what the probabilities can be in life. And I thought to myself, man, because you start thinking to yourself, I'm still young, I'm thinking my mom's going to be there for my marriage, for my graduation, grandchildren, those type of things were all going through my mind, and I was so oblivious to the possibilities that could happen. But that's why I'm so grateful that she could prepare me for that.
Yes.
And that's why
wise
I
woman,
must say, very wise, very wise.
And sometimes, if you look at life in general, sometimes the people who are about to pass, they'll throw. I think they know, they have a premonition that they're going to go. And so we being there as human beings, you don't want to acknowledge the fact, dude, what you're saying now.
Yes, most
you go into denial.
You're going to denial, say, nah, it's not going to be me. But you know what, there are certain things, and I'm grateful for how she prepared you and how she set you up for, doing that. And these feelings, the premonition, how they prepare you, would always be in hindsight when you sit down and you think. But that, in a sense, brings a sense of closure. Not much, but it brings a sense of closure that, my mom had my back. It brings me to another thing. I was reading a story about, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was on IOL. And the thing said many children are becoming orphans due to COVID-19.
Yes.
And it tells a story of a young girl in Durban, in Chatsworth. So she's 16 years old and she's got a brother of 21 years old. He moved out. He went to live somewhere else because of work. And so mom died. And 4 days later, her father died.
Oh, no.
So, but the thing about this, and a question that I would like to pose to Germaine and Clorinda is really how they found one another. And so what happened to them, they became each other's strongest support. You know.
Yes.
Now look at the age gap, about a 5-year age gap in between the two. But they found a way how to be there for one another. And I wanted to know from Germaine and Clorinda, what did you guys do to really just bolster your family relationship between the two of you as siblings? And maybe you're the only child. And so I think it's going to be an encouragement to him, because he don't have somebody like that who shared a mum with him. And so I think maybe that story, because this story was really one where they came out of this thing together, the brother and the sister. He came back home, he took his sister, he gave up his job because it was more important for him to be with his sister. Yeah, and walk her through the grieving process. So the two of you, how did you guys cope with that as a unit, as brother and sister?
Okay, we've always been close, and we've always been together, like every Sunday or whatever. We don't go. We always see each other, and the thing that with my mom's passing is us drawing closer to my dad. We really never had that kind of a relationship with him. So it's like we're getting to know him now. We know, looking after him and being there for him, because with him it's difficult for him being alone. So we draw closer in that sense.
Okay.
Because we've always been close. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah.
I must just add there, Neil, that no family is perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so funny that when death strikes you, sometimes the family goes.
Yeah,
And that's happened with us, in all honesty.
Yeah.
We try to keep it, but certain things or elements come in, and then, you just like, because our mother was the glue, not only of our immediate family, but the extended family as well.
Yeah.
But you try and be there for one another. As Germaine said, with my dad, it's so amazing to see with my dad now. It's like Germaine said, you're getting to know him, but also the role that he's playing, because he's now trying to play that role of keeping us together. So he's our glue now. We speak through him or whatever the case might be, but it's not easy because the person that was there is no longer. So you have to change your mindset and be like, okay, how do we make this work, as a family, and how do we get to a point where she or what she taught us.
So as I often say, that, and maybe Josh, being the only child, you dealt with so many things, I don't know, growing up as an only child, not having siblings. But one of the things that I know, and even the two of you, that what you have gone through and what you've experienced, you become the shoulder to someone else. And the story that you have, Josh, and the story that the two of you have is a story that needs to be told, because according to this, the article, there's a lot more people that are going to lose their parents. And people that we know, first it was far off, COVID was far, but now it's on our doorsteps, and it's happening to so many people around us. And so what I want to say to you, Josh, is that, you become that person that you never had in that time. So there's going to be somebody who's going to call you, I know it. So, and I know that you are able to help that too, and even the two of you, because at this time, the prayer of our hearts is that families would come together, that families would really unite, especially the aspect of not seeing your loved one who was in hospital 2-3 weeks, you haven't seen them. And so, because each and every one of us have a characteristic of our parent inside of us. And so the lovingness, the kindness, the being the glue, you guys might be the glue now to the other extended families. And so your voice is a voice of peace and comfort to somebody else that's going to walk this road. And I think in that, knowing that, I think it puts you in a good stead of helping people. And I'm so encouraged by the story this morning, because in you guys, there's hope, there's faith. You've gone through most of the aspects of grieving, and now your grief really becomes the strength for somebody else.
That's
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
And what's so beautiful about Joshua's story is the mere fact that, being a young boy, there's so many others that lose hope. They
Yeah.
feel like the glue is gone.
Yeah.
So I might as well fall back onto my old habits, so go as the flow goes. You know what I'm saying? But with you standing, you saying, this is what my mom taught me. My parents brought me thus far. I'm going to push and make that dream come true.
No, most definitely.
Right?
Most definitely.
So I love that. I just commend you on that. That's an awesome testimony. That's beautiful. I really pray that God will help you. And one day when you stand there and they cap you, Mom will be there looking down from heaven and say, that's my boy. Right, so I want to ask you guys, before we close, I want to ask a question. What's your view on COVID-19's rules and regulations, rehospitalizations and funerals?
Can
burial.
I say, I don't agree with most of the rules and regulations, as we've seen with the funeral of the king. No one stuck to any of the rules.
Yeah.
So with us, what helped us is the support of our families, the support of people outside, even though it was the first wave and no one really knew all the fear people had. But people came out, people supported, people sent messages. I know a lot of people that families died alone in hospital. Some families wouldn't come out because they're so fearful. I mean, we know a lot of stories of people who stay at home and still get COVID. So I don't think we would have coped without the support of our family being there. And I would encourage everyone to be there for their family members and
That's cool. Yeah.
follow the rules of the Bible.
My view, and I would like to put a disclaimer out and say that this is my
view,
personal view.
Yeah.
It's not the view of the church or the Inside Show or family members. It's my view. I would touch on hospitalization because Germaine touched on burials and all that. I'm anti, not only because of our personal experience, but I'm anti, hospitals at the moment. I've heard many stories as well, seen a lot of testimonies that was shared of people being in hospital and them discharging themselves from hospital because of what is going on. My advice would be equip yourself with all the positive, the media. Many people say the media portrays a lot of negativity because it's always COVID-19 updates. I would say equip yourself with positive things. There is positive things in the media. And I would say treat your loved ones at home. There are ways and means of doing it. The only time I would say, like with my mom, her age was compromised and she had underlying illnesses. She was a diabetic. So then I would say, take them to hospital. But I would say treat them at home, get the equipment, oximeters, oxygen tanks, and all the necessary
When your mom went
medication.
She walked in there. She was quite okay that day, isn't it?
Yes, my mom was coughing, and 3 doctors, before we sent her to hospital, 3 doctors said that she had a bleeding ulcer.
Yeah.
My mom was coughing, but the doctor himself, before he admitted her, was not worried that she had COVID. So
we did
he
a
also
COVID
said,
test, so
Yeah,
we had
we
to
did.
take
Yeah,
a...
that was another thing.
and
Yeah.
There was a
she
COVID
tested
test
negative
and she was tested
twice, actually. So he wasn't concerned because, immediately they would say to you, no, go for a COVID test. But with my mom, she was admitted for a bleeding ulcer and not COVID. When we did the autopsy, it came out that which makes more sense now, she had water on her lung, which they did not pick up. when they did a scope. She was admitted for, like I said, for the bleeding ulcer. When they did the scope, they didn't pick anything up. They couldn't tell where the bleeding was coming from, but in the end, she had water on her lung. But she tested, she tested positive in hospital, let me say that.
Okay.
So they put her in a COVID ward.
Yes. They admitted her the Wednesday. The Thursday morning, they did a COVID test, and without notifying us, I got an SMS to say, let me not say the name of the company.
Yeah.
Your mom did a COVID test, it was positive, and this is the bill. Basically, they sent me the bill.
The bill,
Yes. And that was the morning. She was admitted the Wednesday evening, did the scope at 8 o'clock. Next morning, I get this and see they did a COVID test. Only later in the day when we called the hospital, we were notified that my mom tested positive, and immediately she was in a COVID ward. So that's why I'm anti, the hospitalization process.
Yeah, because I remember still talking to her, and then just after that, the evening, I was so shocked because it was two different people. Because the evening she was so weak. She said to me, "Pray, my sister, pray. You must pray. Since I came here, I don't feel well." And now and then, I still have that voice message on my phone. And now and then, I play that message. And I know I phoned the doctor. I actually phoned the doctor who dealt with Clorinda and Germaine's mom. And I asked a lot of questions. And I have my own, this is me, I have my own conclusion as to what actually happened. Therefore, as Clorinda said, this is me, guys, this is me. I'm also anti-hospitals. At the moment, I'm not for it, to be quite honest, due to the fact that it is just a lot of things. Not that there's anything wrong. Listen, if you cannot help your beloved, it's the best to go to a doctor and go to the hospital that you feel will be able to help her, because they're all by themselves and all that type of things. But I came to the conclusion with my sister. I came to the conclusion that something terribly went wrong there. I don't know what it was, but something went wrong there, and therefore caused her death. And I think that is also some of the things, Neil, that I feel that makes you angry because of the situation, and the secrecy that is in all this. Somehow I feel like it's so secretive, men. You don't
as though
really
they're hiding
know.
something.
Yes, you don't really know what is happening.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Mary explained the last time what happened when people go into hospital. You get those with potential COVID, those that are not, and those that still need to be tested. And like you can go in there negative, and they push you from one section to the other section, and there you get infected with that. It's in hospital.
Yeah.
So hospitalization, and I think the regulations that they put in they didn't think about it long and hard enough. Even if you take the church situation, they say 50 people, but you can have half capacity. So what if you got a 30,000 seater? Half capacity is 15,000.
Yeah.
They expect 50. So some of the regulations they didn't think through carefully. And I think that the hard part about where you find yourself in terms of that is the secrecy around them not disclosing. Everybody wants to cover up. It looks like they're trying to block and not blame them. All they had to do is come out and say, listen, guys, the potential of you contracting COVID is very high within a hospital because, you're in a COVID ward.
Yes.
What is the likelihood that you will not get it?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think some of the stuff, as you say, is really under the cloud of secrecy where they don't want to disclose and just be honest and say, what, this is where she did contract it in hospital. There's nothing we could have done about it because there is nothing they could have done.
Yeah, like my friend. My friend was the first person, whom I know something went wrong there. Also, you know what I'm saying? She went into hospital I think they put her in a COVID ward, right? And she did not have COVID. So I just feel that sometimes the treatment, man, that's the thing that mostly made me angry.
Yeah.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I was very, very upset. I was very angry. And after I spoke, I thought I'm going to get closure after I spoken to the doctor. But it made things worse for me.
There's a question that has just come through now.
Yeah, I wanted to also ask that
Yeah.
question. And we have our psychologist
Kim.
back. We
Yeah.
have Kim back. So yeah. And
Kim?
I'm happy you're back now because there's a question.
Kim, there's a question from a lady by the name of
I can't
Rajani
hear.
Mohapi. Can Kim hear us? Okay, I'll ask the question in the meanwhile. What makes somebody not show any signs of grieving, but after 3 years cries like his loved one only passed away yesterday?
Yeah, that's late shock.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Did you hear the question, Kim?
I think what happens there is some people go through a period of shock where they just cannot handle the reality of death. And so it only kicks in a lot later down the line. And so I think that's what you're seeing in that particular example, where only 3 years later, the person now, comes to terms and realizes that there has indeed been a death, and now they go through the process of grieving. So it, like I said before, grieving is for the griever. So it can happen at any time, and it looks different for everybody. So I think we shouldn't also get stuck into thinking that because a person is not crying or they're not doing X, Y, and Z, they're not grieving and they're abnormal or there's something wrong with them. Everybody processes grief differently. And I think that
How long can you move on?
How long can you move on? How long do you grieve and move on? Because that's a very important question.
There is no time limit. There's absolutely no time. And you don't move on. You don't get over the loss of a loved one. You simply learn to live with it, and you simply learn how to alter your life, based on the fact that they are no longer there. You will always have some kind of pain associated with losing a loved one. The intensity might not be as much as it is right in the beginning. So the intensity might fade off, but you never get over the loss of a loved one. It's not something that you can get over.
Sorry. So how would you advise those that surrounds this person? What are they expected to do during this time?
Right. I think we need to, again, I think this is something that I say often when we have these talks, is that we need to communicate about this. So ask the person what it is that they need during the time, how you can support them. Offer them, the fact that you are there and they can speak to you or they can ask for anything. But more than just asking for anything, think about, what you could possibly do to support them. So whether it's running errands, dropping off food parcels, helping them do things that, their mother would have usually done, or, things like that, offering support in that way, but never invalidate somebody's feelings or emotions when it comes to grief. They are grieving obviously in their own way, and it may not make sense to you, but it's not about you. It's about this person going through the grief. So they are in the best position to be able to communicate what it is that they need.
Right. Thank you
so much. I like
that
answer, because we're all different people, and we all have different attitudes and different ways. We deal with things differently, and therefore it's important not to throw down someone else's throat what you actually, who you are, your beliefs, your feelings, your blah blah blah. I think that's very important. That's very important.
And can
I just add something else quickly? I think death is obviously it's going to be here for a while, especially since COVID is still around. And I've come to realize that what people sometimes do in offering sympathy is they say things like, "Oh, when my mother passed away, I felt like this, that, and the other," or yes, I remember when I went through X, Y, and Z. I'd like to just maybe advise to not do that because it's not about you. I know we might feel as though, it shows that we support and it shows that we understand what the person is going through. But even though we've all been through some sort of grief, there is no proper understanding because everybody experiences the loss of a loved one in a different way. And sometimes when you say things like, oh, when I, it takes away and invalidates that person's experience in the moment. And they might feel like they cannot express how they really feel because now the focus has shifted onto you.
Someone else,
So for us to just be mindful about how we are sympathizing when we do offer our condolences to people, I think is really important.
Oh, awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Right, last remarks. We're going to start there by you, Germaine. Last remarks, and then because we're at the end of the program. We came to the end of the program, guys. And yeah, you see, I have tissues, but I didn't cry. Just to put it out there. Germaine, last.
My final remarks would be, again, just be there for your loved ones. Don't worry about all these rules. We are made to be there for one another. So whatever loss, whatever you're facing, be there for one another.
Thank you.
My last remarks would be, during this time of COVID, I strongly believe it's all in the mind. Yes, COVID is real, but there's the mind plays a vital role in this. Stay strong, equip yourself, as I said, and change your mindset. Get up, walk in the garden if you're going, or if you have COVID now, walk in the garden, get up, do things you used to do. And yeah, that's mine.
Awesome. Josh?
For me, I'd just say, trust God no matter what happens, just trust God, because no matter how things happened, why it happens, or whatever circumstance it may be, just trust God. And then another thing I'd like to say is communicate. Don't keep whatever you feel inside, whether it be writing it down, whether it be finding other means of it, but communicate, find ways to express yourself, because keeping it in, it will just be negative for you in the long run. Yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Neil?
Okay, well, I just want to say to everyone out there, we love you, we care for you and about you. And if there's anyone out there that's going through a difficult time, we'd like you to call our office number, 011-494-1363. We are ready to walk with you and journey this road with you. We've got competent people who are able to help you. There are people who can share their stories. You can share your stories with them. And remember that grieve as long as you have to grieve. Don't deny yourself those feelings. And we are here for you. We love you. And I know that we will get through this together.
Right, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can, last remarks from your side. What would you say?
I think I would just want to follow on what Neil said. It's a time of really self-care and self-kindness. That's the only way that you can navigate this journey of grief, is to take care of yourself and to be kind to yourself through this process. And don't rush the process of grief. There's no destination, so there's no point in trying to rush through it. Take your time, take all the time that you need, and validate those emotions that you're feeling, whatever it is, whether it's positive emotions, negative emotions. Allow yourself to experience the fullness of all of that.
Awesome.
Well, I want to take the opportunity to thank our panel. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing your stories with me. here on the show. And thank you, Kim, that you came in. We really appreciate you. I want to say to all out there, you are never alone. God is for you. Who can be against you? So as Josh said, if you have him, all things will work together for the good. And take your time. We love you. God loves you best. Go in the peace of the Lord. And as I say, mwah.
As I look upon my life, there's a passion inside. Heaven knows I'm living my dreams. As I look upon my life, there's a passion inside.